So I'm a senior learning designer at the University of London, and I've been developing an online BSc psychology with colleagues from King's College. And the programme is taken by students from diverse backgrounds all over the world in many different time zones. And I wanted to evaluate an aspect of the clinical psychology module on this programme. So I've been working with colleagues from the Centre for Distance and Online Education for their research expertise. And so clinical psychology trains students to about the work of a clinical psychologist, as you would imagine. Now, in on-campus education, role play is a common activity, allows students to practice being a clinician, working with a client to develop the skills that they'll need in the workplace. But our programme is fully online, so we have to think of our students and what would work well for them. So the project that what we did was we thought, because there's such good potential for learning in role play, we wanted to try it out online. So students were given a mental health scenario to prepare for. Then we asked them to work in small groups and meet online in Blackboard Collaborate. And then they take it in turns to take on the role of the psychologist and the client to act out an interview. So why did I want to do this? Why is it important? Well, I really wanted to investigate this because I think this is quite new and untested online. The literature suggests that the literature talks about evaluating on-campus role play activities. We haven't seen anything online about online role play. And I wondered, is this going to be worth it? It's going to be difficult for the students. But I think it has a lot of potential for students to practice the skills and knowledge that they're learning and do it in a safe environment. But I think it's probably challenging for students. I wondered whether they would feel anxious about doing this. I know I would if someone asked me to do a role play, and coordinating across time zones, is that feasible? And so I wanted to evaluate what the impact was on their learning and see whether this was worth it or not. And that's where Luke comes in. Sure.
So in terms of the study, what we planned out was a mixed methods approach, trying to gather as much information about these activities as we could. You know, it's quite exploratory. We needed to find out more about what was going on. So we aimed to get responses to a short survey, just to give us some basic quantitative information, and then to get enough volunteers to talk about 2 focus groups discussions, to ask some questions. We came up with a semi-structured question stem to guide those. The survey was based upon a survey from a different context, so validated in a different context, but would give us some information relating to what we were trying to find out. And we tried to recruit students via regular emails from the module lead, we put announcements on the VLE, and we attended a few synchronous sessions that were part of their scheduled curriculum to talk to them about the work and sort of ask for volunteers. Now, you might get a sense from me saying we were trying to recruit this way about how this has gone. So we've actually extended it across 2 cohorts of students. We've had 8 survey responses and 1 person volunteered to take part in a focus group. It became an interview, of course. Fascinating discussion with the student, but not enough data for us to go on. Just for an initial guide, the initial survey responses showed limited engagement with the role play activities generally. 2 of the 8 respondees said they hadn't done the role plays. 3 of them said they'd done some of them. Obviously not enough to go on, but that gives us an idea perhaps where the engagement was. Similarly, when we attended synchronous sessions, the Q&A timetables sessions part of the module, I believe the cohort's around 50 people. We did 2 sessions between us. I think the most we had in either session was 2 students. And I think that maybe speaks to some of the challenge that perhaps we were having. So our interview with the volunteers showed that they engaged with some of the role play activities. They didn't include the observer role, which was interesting because that's really a fundamental part of the process. And an anecdotal report from the module lead suggested that the students said they felt they lacked the training required to give feedback, which was interesting food for thought in what we could do. So in terms of actual findings, we don't really have anything at the moment. Something that this is something we really need to explore, but it's posed a lot of questions about what might be going on. And I wanted to present those to you guys here. These are not based on anything other than my hunches about some of the questions we perhaps need to be asking in terms of understanding what's happened here with this study. You know, obviously, is the lack of engagement with the study indicative of wider engagement issues? There are things that can potentially be done to understand whether the students engage with the asynchronous online learning differently than the synchronous sessions, and that's something that we can consider potentially. How can we capture any conclusions beyond the role play activities? Is that even scope for our project? Possibly not. The question about student confidence giving feedback, what can we do to reach them? And also, but particularly thinking, and how we might answer these, I don't know, but how can we better set student expectations for their participation in the module? I think that's perhaps a key question. If we are asking, if the students are not engaging with synchronous sessions, have their expectations been set appropriately for what we are delivering? Do we actually know what the students are wanting from this? So really, that's where we are at. That's the end of our talk. If we have a few minutes, I wanted to pose some of these questions to you or other questions for thoughts and ideas, really, for where we might go next.
Yes. Well, there should be plenty of time for discussion. So, does anyone have a question initially? Does anyone want to have an answer to any of those? Yes.
I'm just going to initial question. In the asynchronous material that you're providing the students, is the role play modeled for the students in terms of the different roles? It's interesting in terms of their engagement, but also in terms of their confidence giving feedback. And I just wondered whether that's something that's emphasized or something that's done.
I think there might be a small gap there. We did an animation with the 3 roles to show each role taking part in a small example, but it wasn't with some real people, so it might be better to get 3 academics in the room to role play to model it or something, and especially the feedback bit.
Are there any documents to scaffold that feedback? So in my coaching apprenticeship, we do tryouts. We actually coach each other and we observe, and we have an evaluation board did it. So do they have anything like that to help them with that feedback?
I think the feedback is just answering 3 bullet-pointed questions, but perhaps a template within, as they're observing, would be more structured, wouldn't it?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm just from CR. I just think 2 things. I think first of all, I think it's really great that you're presenting this, even though you could so easily just say, you get any data, it happens all the time, but you don't get any data. I think actually, instead of doing that, to try to think what is it indicative of? So that was just the first point. I think actually sharing that is really quite valuable. The second thing I think is just to sort of you say that the results that the student might lack, so the ability to give feedback literacy, I think is definitely something we're seeing. Well, as you said, it's a bit broad there, but at least national and I think more broader. This was evaluating this year's pilot where we tried to engage in more feedback dialogues, and what we find is in some places students don't quite know how to feedback, evaluate feedback to their tutors at our company. Again, this is something different from this, but I think it's sort of it's the same idea that maybe we are really missing a significant trick here in actually preparing students for that professional feedback, for feedback to each other, to lecturers, and so on. Again, I just think it could be part of a much bigger problem.
Yeah, if they don't know how to give feedback, they wouldn't want to talk to us.
Absolutely, and what wasn't clear from the anecdotal evidence, so that was the message we got from the module lead. What wasn't quite clear is what the students meant by that. Did they mean they struggled giving feedback, thinking about giving feedback to us, or were they struggling to give feedback in the role play activities? Probably both, is my assumption. But what their intention perhaps with that comment was, we're not quite sure. But that's my suspicion, is that it's about both, and these ideas about scaffolding it in more detail is really helpful.
Okay, there's something in the chat, is that a question?
No, there's nothing. Christine was online briefly, but she's disappeared again.
Yes, well, I've got a question, or possibly more of a comment, one of those. And I'm intrigued by how relevant this is likely to be to your student professional careers. I would guess, from knowing a few odd things like the email address that's always given out for the Samaritans, that counselling and psychotherapy are now taking place virtually in an online environment. And I was wondering whether stressing that kind of thing might help engagement.
That's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, this is the other thing related to that, is that this is a clinical psychology module on a psychology course, and perhaps these skills, some of these skills are specific to this module as well, and maybe that's the understanding that that can be something that can be stressed too.
And maybe you'd actually get a better engagement rate if you were teaching the same or a very similar model to medics. When their focus was more in the clinic and doing it practically, than possibly in more theoretical work.
Good points, really helpful responses, thank you.
Okay.
She is back online. If I don't know if she wants to actually join, she might not. But you're welcome to say something if you'd like to.
We would welcome your thoughts, Christine. Hello.
Hello, Christine. Yes.
She's a really good example of that, students with a really difficult internet connection in the remote parts of the world. So that makes that kind of activity difficult as well.
Where is she?
Kenya.
Remember, was she part of the research design and sort of did you work with partnership with the student or?
A later stage of it. So she came on board around, when was it, November?
Oh, yeah, I think it's like
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
Christine.
Oh, thank you, everyone. Sorry, my network is not stable, so I've been dropping off and coming back. So yes, my name is Christine Atieno Amolo. I'm in Kenya and a student research fellow, having done my master's in refugee protection and forced migration. Yes, I just finished and I'm grateful. So I joined this project as a student research fellow. And it's exciting, although we are facing a bit of challenges finding students to participate. But yes, we are managing and we are really hopeful that we get great results at the end of it. So yes, thank you.
Oh, great, lovely to hear from you. So glad you could join us, Christine.
Sorry?
Thank you for joining, Christine.
Yes.
Welcome. I'm excited.
Okay, I think.
Thank you very much.